Hello and welcome to another episode of Digital Dexterity. I'm Wes McChristian, VP of our Kentico practice here at Americaneagle.com. On today's episode, I'm joined by a very special guest, and this is a bit of a celebration episode. But I'm here with Mike Hennessey from the customer success team over at Kentico. Mike, do you want to do a quick introduction?
Hey, thanks, Wes. Yeah, it's an exciting time. 20 years of Kentico. My name is Mike Hennessey. I'm a senior customer success manager here at Kentico. So really my role is to help our partners and our clients be successful with the platform. Really what we're doing is we're keeping our eye out for opportunities to drive our product in the right direction based on, client goals and initiatives. And we're always here, supporting our great partners at Americaneagle.com too. Good to see you, Wes.
Yeah, likewise. And you just gave a little bit of a hint, but this is your 20th year in business, a bit of an anniversary here, and we thought it fitting to sort of pair 20 years of success in software and business with, of course, your role as customer success and the work that you do day in and day out for your customers. So, Mike, let's maybe hop in the time machine and travel back. Let's start with your background with the organization. I know you've been with Kentico for a very long time. You've seen a lot of their story unfold. Take us back in time, Mike.
Yeah, so it's a really exciting time. A fun fact I have to tell you all, coincidentally, so Kentico was founded almost 20 years ago at the time of this recording on June 6th, 2004. And so my birthday is actually June 5th. So Kentico was born, created, a day after I was, which is kind of exciting. And I myself, I've been with Kentico for 10 years, actually. I forget the exact date, but it's in late June sometime. So I've essentially been here for half of it. And so during that time with Kentico, we've seen some changes, of course, over the years. But we've been 100% profit driven, privately owned. So we're really proud of that. And we've been able to maintain a great product. I'd say since essentially the inception of version 1.0.
Yeah, I think we've been partners for probably 11 years now, Mike, maybe 10. I'd have to go back and double check my own dates. But, we've always, as an agency, felt like really just such amazing cultural alignment with you guys. We're, as an agency, family owned, family operated, privately held. Very, very similar to the way that you guys have driven the Kentico software product over the last 20 years. It's always been, we've felt a really great fit in terms of partnership for the way we operate versus the way you guys operate. It just led to really amazing natural collaboration. But tell us a little bit more about like the genesis or the advent of Kentico and kind of the philosophy behind the product in some of those early days here as we're celebrating 20 years in business.
Yeah, absolutely. So it all starts really, almost 20 years ago with our founder and former CEO, Peter Pallas. So, you really have to flash back to actually, I think it's in the late 90s, even in like 1998 or 1999. Peter Pallas was working for another company. And he was responsible for managing like the intranet websites of that organization. Essentially, it was a lot of manual work. He would receive new content that wanted to go live into the intranets, and he would have to take that content and basically convert it into some static HTML and go live with that. And he felt it was a highly efficient way to do that, even then back in the late 90s. So this is where he came up with the idea to actually provide an article editor, which would allow people to manage the content themselves. And later on, he actually came up with the concept of a CMS that could, be privatized and reused, for many different projects besides intranets. So, essentially the employer that he was working at back then didn't really, want to work on that project. So this is where he actually took this as a thesis for his bachelor studies, and he actually created his own company and built the early version of Kentico CMS. And so this is all coming to fruition in June 2004, where he actually started the company as a one-man office. He would split the time between maybe anyone can imagine listening. It's programming, it's marketing, it's customer support, And it's the administration, like the banking, and even doing the documentation all himself. So after his first year, I think he hired some employees, and it's kind of grown from there.
And how many employees on the books now?
There is over 250. I don't know the exact number, but we're over 250. Still under 300 today.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And I'll admit, I'm learning as you're talking here. I knew some of those stories, some of those early day stories, but it was always clear to me that Peter crafted a solution that was meant to satisfy, or really bridge the gap, is maybe the better way to frame it, between kind of the development and what development looked like in those early days, and the marketer, right, and the ability to kind of do some things on their own as a business user. Some of those early versions, it seemed like, that was the vision for the product. And certainly now here in 2024, I think we can say we've arrived, and there's still more to come. But it was, it's neat hearing you talk about some of those early days as well. Tell us a little bit more, Mike, about kind of the product philosophy, the vision, how that's evolved over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely been an evolution. I mean, and that's just right. So we are at an exciting time with Experience by Kentico, where we've had an opportunity to really build a next generation product from the ground up. But largely over the years, certainly since I've been with Kentico, I think version 8 was just coming out 10 years ago when I started. We've largely been adding on. So of course, we've deprecated some features, but largely we've been building this product, over many, many years. Excuse me. So the first client that we actually that Peter acquired was actually way back in the end of 2004. That was Gibson Guitars. So it was the first client that Peter was able to attract purely through SEO. He was able to get ASP.NET CMS. He ranked really high for that back in 2004, which helped him at least get the attention of Gibson, and worked on that deal. Of course, very hands-on, working with them to help them understand the product, identify what things were missing, what they needed to do to be successful. But from there, it really helped Peter to understand that, hey, there is a need for this kind of CMS in the market. This is something that organizations want, and with such a big brand name as the first client, it definitely encouraged him to do more. So after version 1.0, which was enough for Gibson, the first significant rebuild was when we introduced what we call the portal engine concept. And this is really, just think about it as the ability to build websites using that drag and drop interface. This was certainly new back then when version 2.0 came out. And we continued in advancing these kind of drag and drop features up until around 2011. Which is where we first introduced what we call EMS, or the Enterprise Marketing Solution. So this is where we saw a trend in the market that customers didn't just want to publish content, but they also wanted to provide great experiences for their clients that would ultimately drive their business. So this is where they wanted things like personalization, marketing automation, A/B testing, and so on. And we found at the time that very few vendors actually provided something that combined CMS, e-commerce, and the online marketing functionality. So this is really, I would say, the genesis of modern Kentico, is this realization that we want this EMS features, which moves into today what we consider our DXP solution. So really that all-in-one solution that gives you the flexibility to do many different things out of the box, but also doesn't stop you from integrating with other third-party solutions when you want to do that. And that's something we've maintained, I'd say, even through our transformation into Experience by Kentico.
Man, it's interesting listening to you talk about some of this stuff. I joined the agency in 2011. It was actually, if we're talking about dates, it was actually Valentine's Day. So American Eagle and I are sweethearts. But the transformation that you're talking about, like, I remember seeing it happen. Like, I remember, because when I joined the agency, we were building on really pure content management systems, and specifically, like, we have one we authored in a very similar way philosophically to what you're describing as the origins of the Kentico system. And it was, so 2011, 12, 13, 14, like we started to see the industry change and needs change during that time. Like, I mean, even not just controls and requirements from a business and marketing perspective, but like there were like that was like the mobile revolution timeframe as well. Like responsive was really big during that time. Um, and I think as a business, as an agency, we started losing deals to softwares like Kentico, and that's what really kickstarted our partnership, which is kind of it's just like sort of interesting to look in the rear view and think about not just the 20 years of Kentico and your software, your product, but all the changes and the journey that we've all been on for the last or for the same time frame. But
Yeah.
that's cool. That's neat, and I think sort of to like pull it forward to modern day too. What you're describing, I hear your product team talk about a lot. So, like for instance, Sean's been on before, and Chris has been on before, the Digital Dexterity series here. But one of the pillars of your modern product strategy is sort of single vendor built, and it's neat talking to you and sort of like it's always been that way, right? The product strategy has never been about acquisition. The product strategy has always been about how can we build it to be strong and satisfy the needs of what we're seeing out in the market, which I think is really cool, especially when someone like yourself is in a role dedicated to customer success and using those tools. So let's maybe head there next, Mike. Like tell us what you're working on. What's hip and cool in customer success these days?
So it's supporting a brand new product that we've built from the ground up. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
There's lots of different things. So what we've done is we've built a new solution from the ground up on ASP.NET 8. And this is something that our competition largely isn't doing. You're so right. Many organizations are kind of saying, hey, look at our feature set. How can we acquire different organizations that maybe do something similar to what we want, and we'll kind of connect this all together and manage it. So being that privately held company, we've had it comes with its challenges. Of course, we have to support our own weight. We've also been in a position where we can move slowly when we need to do that. We can move quickly when we need to do that. Ultimately, we're in control of our own fate. And we've always found that single vendor solution is something that many organizations want to fall back on. There's been the composable boom, over the past, years. And, that's attractive. And for some organizations that may be the best fit, what we've seen is that organizations consistently, we think, will continue to want, in many cases, a single vendor who can provide a lot of the features, out of the box. So largely what I'm doing is supporting that transformation. We have partners like Americaneagle.com who can do, amazing work, as well our thought leaders in various industries. And then we have our team, that support team, our training team, and our professional services team. So largely what we're trying to do is rally behind our existing clients and new clients as well, who are coming to this platform with business aspirations of their own. Everyone knows what their company is doing, what their company should be doing, and what we should really be focused on this year and next year.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they may have some assumptions too about what software should do and how that should meet those goals. But ultimately, we like to think that no one, well, maybe besides you guys over at Americaneagle.com, no one knows the product better than us as software vendor. So that's where we really leverage all of our available assets to work towards client needs so that they, business teams and business leadership especially can be confident that they're choosing the right platform, that what they're implementing today is going to pay off tomorrow. And ultimately, we do that by learning organizations, learning what they need, asking the right questions, and making recommendations that tie into our product capabilities. Not a lot, unlike what Americaneagle.com does, I know, with clients as well.
Well, yeah, I appreciate the kind words, but I know you guys have a lot of strong partners in the network as well. Not just us, but there's a lot of other folks at the table that are doing really cool things with Kentico, in the spirit of community and of course driving the product forward. So there's we see a lot of cool things happening, not just inside our walls, but with some of the other stuff that partners are doing, which is great. I've always felt like Kentico has a fairly unique partner ecosystem in that regard. We're all competitors, but we're all friendly.
What's
We're
interesting
all
about that too
friendly
is this.
too.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, we're all competitors. We're a happy family who
Yeah,
competes with each other too,
that's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about our partner network, which is very strong, especially even in recent years, but from its inception of Kentico, we really didn't do proactive partner recruitment. It's something we maybe do a little bit more of, but certainly didn't when we started. And I'd say compared to other organizations, we do less of it. It's very organic, and that partners often find us, find out about our product, they like their first project, they do more. So maybe a question for you, Wes, too. Like, was it a similar story for you guys? When you all first heard about Kentico, was it through word of mouth, or was it more of an active process when we first partnered? I'm trying to remember if I actually know the answer to that.
Yeah, I think I think I gave you a hint earlier, but I think we were like a lot of our partnerships in those days were formed because we started losing deals to technology that we started hearing a lot about. So I can't tell you the exact moment, right? But I suspect what happened was, 10, 13, 15 years ago, somebody won using Kentico as the preferred solution, and it wasn't us. And we said, okay, we got to go check that product out. We got to go look at that software. And the rest is history, as it were. I think, Mike, that's the story. Or
I like that
is
story.
the story, and I'm sticking to it. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just let you all know, when I started at Kentico, back in 2014, we had many of the pieces, I would say, of our modern customer success department.
Sure.
But they were largely siloed, teams. We had a support team, which came first. That was one of the first aspects of Kentico that Peter Pallas offloaded, delegated. So technical support, let's make a team for that. So we've had that for a long time, largely reactive. We also created a training team to administer. Over the years, we've had in-person instructor-led training. We've had modular-based training, but it's always been managed by this team. And we also had a consulting or professional services team to handle, more strategic engagements, customizations, and deeper conversations about clients' businesses and what those recommendations should be. So when I started at Kentico, I started in the support team. And these were largely, I hesitate to say this, but kind of siloed, teams working, in one company. So it was actually, I think in 2006 that we created the customer success management position. So customer success manager myself, I was the first one. We kind of created this role, and I was the first one to do it. And along the same time, we also restructured our support, our training, and our consulting team to be one customer success department. And, at the highest level, what that meant for us is that we're not working in silos. We're working together to drive, success with the product. And so really when we started out doing that, our goal, the way we actually did that, like tactically, is we had professional services packages that clients and partners could, purchase from us. And it would include training, it would include support, it would include consulting, and it would have a CSM, such as myself, to try to drive that engagement. What we found at this time was that organizations can have, 20 professional services hours on their account, but when really they're left up to them to decide when should I use this? When should I reach out? It seemed like when the problem was already happening, that was too late.
Right.
So what we decided to do was to give that strategic point person, kind of inject them into that relationship to make recommendations, to at least check and nudge and to help them use those services in a meaningful way for their business. And I would say we've been doing that in some way or another ever since.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking back to at least one recent example where we partnered with a client, and for better or worse, I think with the historic EMS feature set, the enterprise feature set, like there are components of it that are sort of underutilized. Things that are historically been present, like A/B testing, for example. The clients sort of have an appetite for using. And I remember one example recently where we said, hey, these guys want to learn more about that. Is this, Mike, something you can come in and help us, sort of help us explain? Let's partner with, let's partner at the product level, right? It's like, this is what Kentico does. This is what it's meant to do. This is how you can use it. And then, of course, we can pair with it, the familiarity with the account and the history of what we've built, and put forth strategic recommendations while you're sort of championing the product as you're intended to. Which was, I think, just a cool way to like look at our partnership through the lens of that more nuanced day-to-day tactical implementation, which is really cool.
Yeah, and what I found about that, I think what really changes, if anything, more recently, even in the past year or so with Experience by Kentico, is that we've always done this, right? Especially
Right.
at a partnership level. But largely what we were doing as software vendors, releasing a big set of features with a major version release, and that would, persist for about a year or so. And so I feel like, at least how I feel, I'm kind of looking into the partnership, is that, a lot of times we would, find use cases, business cases, and it would either be solved by the product, or maybe it's on the edge of the product, and we want to implement some kind of customization or some kind of custom solution for that, and that would kind of remain the same for that year until we release the next product.
Yep.
But with experience, so we would, of course, work together, and we would come up with this stuff, but we would kind of settle into a groove, and that's great, and we could kind of roll with that for a while. Well, we can still do that. But the difference is that the product evolution is happening so frequently, monthly, that I love it. There's such a warranted, occasion to get together and to talk about, hey, here's what we know, but how does this new change affect our recommendations? How does this new change affect how we go to market, or how we, develop successful projects for clients? So, we're able to steer that product more frequently, which is cool, and it's also a great opportunity for collaboration with partners and clients to make sure that we're developing features that really matter.
Yeah, we're really encouraged by the velocity of changes that we're seeing now. You know, uh, Go back in time again to version 1, 2, 3, etc. Right? It was annual, large, big bang feature increases, technology changes along the way. More closer in time, right? Version 13 is like quarterly feature updates, and now with Experience by Kentico, monthly, which is so super exciting just to see kind of the modern implementation of .NET in the product, that's moving quick and driving value. So, maybe in closing here, Mike, too, I know there's something exciting coming up. Are you going to Brno for a celebration party?
I am. Yeah. So I've actually I've been fortunate enough to have been many times to Brno, but I know some of our colleagues, it'll be their first time, seeing the main Kentico HQ. So essentially all of our employees have been invited to Kentico HQ in Brno, and that's going to be happening, first week of June. We're really excited. It's going to be, as you could maybe imagine, a combination of much needed, kind of FaceTime
Yep.
to put our strategies, put everything out there and evaluate what we're doing, what do we want to do. But it's also a great opportunity to do some team building as well. So we have some a party planned, and I think there's some other events planned, including one that is sort of a game with the city of Brno. So
That'll
kind of
be
an
fun.
exploration type thing. Yeah. So it's going to be really exciting. And most of the employees are going to get a chance to go there. We'll still have our support teams on.
Of course.
So,
of course.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's a fitting celebration for 20 successful years in business, and kudos to you for sticking with it. And I really appreciate the sort of the look into your day to day and how Kentico has sort of evolved over time, and what customer success looks like today. Any last comments before we wrap up here, Mike?
No, we'll make sure that we have some good beer and we eat some good food, and we'll be thinking of all of our clients there when we're in Brno. But yeah, no, this was a great opportunity to chat. It's hard to believe it's been 20 years as a company and 10 years personally, but time flies when you're having fun and you're doing great work for clients and partners. So we'll keep it up.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks so much for joining us for this conversation. Really productive, great opportunity to just cherish the partnership. So thanks so much. And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us for another episode of Digital Dexterity, and we'll catch you on the next one.